What's going on, people? Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Adam McKola.
Yes, you are.
He's Mr. Stephen Howson. And today we have been on the overlap. And you know what? I was sick of it before. Going down there, listening to Man City and Liverpool fans piping each other off about how great their two clubs are. So I
proper
thought,
reach around tackle, wasn't it?
let me bring someone in who's as miserable as me, who's as pathetic as I am, who is just everything I am but more miserable. So we're going to go in there,
Obtuse.
speak to Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville about David Beckham.
Yeah, I'll get David Beckham in there.
Yeah, you'll get David Beckham in there. We have to talk about the Glazers, because if we're going to get a platform like this, we always have to criticise the Glazers, right?
100%.
We'll talk about Woodward.
Fuck Woodward, by the way.
Yep. And, of course, our new, bold,
Sponsor.
beautiful manager.
Sorry. Right.
What? Anyway, check this out.
It wouldn't be an overlap fan debate without a little United argument. So without further ado, Adam McKola and Stephen Howson, where are you? Yeah. Welcome. Here we go. I'm going to get straight into it. I mean, not an ideal season. It finished with a bit of a whimper, right?
What are we talking about last year? Let's focus on the positives.
You ain't getting away that easily.
Right.
I mean, the season for me finished after the Atletico Madrid game, I think, and it felt like the dressing room
Yeah, but
switched off after that.
why
as
are you
well.
ignoring winning the Youth Cup and the Eredivisie? When was the last time an English team won the Eredivisie?
No, listen, I'm reveling in this. I can't lie. So,
Bro, you can't revel in this.
Trophies
You're
are
an
important,
Arsenal
I'll
fan.
tell you.
We both got the same thing.
I feel
We're
your
both
pain.
Europa League, Josh.
I feel your pain, but I remember
both
the old
Europa
days.
League.
I remember the old days. You had no sympathy for us. Eric Ten Hag
both Europa League.
in the stands. How do you feel about that? I mean, he had a press conference. He's a man of like a few words. I think that's how I'd describe him.
I was glad to see Eric Ten Hag there and witness that performance, because one of my fears is he comes back in the summer at pre-season, and a lot of these shithouses that have been there all season continue to do the same, turn up, oh, we got a new manager, a little spring in our step, and then fool everyone into thinking that they are Manchester United players, because I think 50, 60, 70% of them aren't good enough to be playing for Manchester United. Whether that's ability-wise, mentality-wise, whether they want to be there or not. I think there's a whole combination of things in the dressing room. I think you only have to look at the fact Pogba, Lingard, Mata, Matic, who else? A whole host of players, Phil Jones. That's about 7-8 members of the squad that are definitely not going to be there next season. You combine that with the players that we don't necessarily think are good enough. Some players that are good enough, but Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, I feel like once upon a time at Manchester United when Gary Neville and co were there, a player stood out if they weren't pulling their weight, if they weren't winners, if they weren't demanding more. And I think Cristiano Ronaldo stands out like a sore thumb because he's wanting to be a winner. He demands everything. And I don't think the dressing room could cope with that. We were second, we bring in Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo, and you start to talk about potentially challenging for the league. Let's be real, that's what we were thinking about.
I'm excited about it.
And it just didn't happen for whatever reason. And I think there's a lot of things wrong at the club. I like what was said about Everton, where United are almost Everton on steroids, because I feel like the culture at the club's rotten. We're rewarding players with contracts left, right and centre when they're not really deserving of them. And I think it's just fed into the dressing room of being happy to be there and not deliver.
Jerry, I mean, this is your forte, United. I mean, in terms of what's gone wrong this season, where you think was there a turning point? Is it the dressing room? Is it the manager? Is it
that dressing room? I used the word about probably 2 months ago. Broken is the word that I used. It's broken, that dressing room. It absolutely, you can't fix that dressing room. I don't know where Eric Ten Hag starts, and that's my biggest fear for him in the first few months. That ultimately, these players are a little bit like. I don't know where the clicks are. I'm not close enough to it. But you mentioned the word rotten, broken. Harry Maguire has gone from being someone who I think was growing on the pitch last year in COVID to someone who's now looks like he's shot to pieces when he pulls on a red shirt. Bruno looks like half the player. The rest of them, the young players, look completely like you've lost complete faith in them. Let's get rid of them. That's when something's gone fundamentally wrong in the club, in the changing room, with the leadership. And I don't think you can dissolve anybody of blame. Everybody has to take blame for that. I was right with what I was saying about Ollie. They had to try and keep Ollie in a job because it was just right to try and get to the end of the season if they could. I wasn't against the appointment of an interim manager because I thought that the right manager wasn't available that they could think about for the long term. So when Ralph Rangnick came in, I thought, OK, well, let's try and see if we can get it to the end of the season. But whereas Di Matteo at Chelsea, I think Hiddink's done it at Chelsea really well, this was more like me at Valencia. It was more like, you know, giving it someone you think you can get to the end of the season, hoping they'll get to the end of the season. And it ended up going horribly wrong then for Ralph Rangnick, where he even looks now, you know, like you're questioning him and the decisions he's made. Yeah. But the reality of it is, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. It really is. It's a massive problem. And look, we're all optimistic about a new manager coming at any club. That's how it works. But I'm actually very cautious in my optimism. I don't think there's many United fans sat there thinking, wow, here we go. Yeah. We're almost cautiously optimistic.
I don't know about you, but I'm kind of the same. It's where Erik ten Hag is a fantastic coach. And I think for the first time, you know, Moyes, all right, we kind of just, you know, listened to Fergie and jumped on the bandwagon a bit. But Van Gaal, Mourinho, they were all kind of past it. Their best years were behind them. Ten Hag is the first one where you feel, oh, he's got something about him. He could possibly grow into become a manager that's here for 10 years rather than 10 months, like Jamie said. But there is that thing, whereas at Ajax, he had Van der Sar around him. He had Overmars briefly. There was a proper structure there, proper culture to the club. And I don't reckon there is. If he's not happy with Cristiano Ronaldo, can he just go, listen, I want to get rid of him? Because the Manchester United board are going to go, well, actually, we've missed out on Champions League football this year. Cristiano Ronaldo guarantees us X amount in commercial contracts, so we'll have to keep him. You know, you can just get by with it. And that's the kind of feel at United, that the board are always going to be undermining any manager or hindering the progress that they can make.
I got a point on that. Where we are now is the culmination of one man's 10-year work, and for me that's Ed Woodward. The appointments of managers for me were commercial appointments, sexy names, big names. Louis van Gaal, big name. Jose Mourinho, massive name.
Very sexy though, is it?
Moyes wasn't, but I understood it at the time. In hindsight, it was awful.
I think what you just said is absolutely right, but I do blame the Glazers for that, because ultimately they've left him in shop. Yeah. You know what I mean? They've left him behind the counter. You know, and you can't have 10 years having a go at it. You know, playing Football Manager, you can't have 10 years. You can have 3. You could maybe have 4. You know, if you don't have success for 3 years, you've got to change it. And you can't just change the manager. You can't just change, you know, recruitment style. You've got to change yourself. Ed Woodward should have been given 3 or 4 years to have a go. Once it got past Louis van Gaal and then it got to Jose, after Jose and the mess of that, he had to go at that point, or he had to step away from the football side and have to bring in a football person. So the Glazer family are to blame for leaving Ed Woodward in situ in place for that period of time. Obviously now we've got a new CEO at Manchester United. I think there's going to be more power given to him. I do fear that the operation on the football side is still not as strong enough as the other clubs in the league. In fact, I know it's not. It just can't be. So my worry is that they've still not gone external to bring in an outstanding football operator. But we'll see what happens.
And for all the people that are thinking, well, United we've spent so much money on transfers. Most of that money spent is not no longer at the club. You look at what City have spent, what Liverpool have spent. It's on the pitch. Our big spends, Lukaku and now Pogba as of next week, it's not on the pitch. And I think that's a problem. People look at the pound note figure at the end and say, you've spent nearly $1 billion. It's not there. Di Maria, not there. Lukaku, not there. Pogba, I mean, even when he was there, he wasn't there. And when you look at some of the contracts we were awarding, and I think this has kind of just been leaked out the last few weeks, that there was monetary value associated to the player contracts, even if that player wasn't playing. Phil Jones, for example, just give an extension of contracts, whether he deserved it or not.
If you look at Man United, I've just seen the England squad's announced today, there's only one Manchester United player in that squad. So we've depleted completely our England, we've destroyed players. I'm trying to think in the last 10 years of a player that we've signed that has come to the club, and there will be, I'm sure, but I'm trying to think who they are, that has come to the club and has improved and gone on to become a better player. I'm trying to think of one. And honestly, I've only just thought of this in the last 5-10 minutes. We spoke about Klopp before and Pep Guardiola. How they've improved players. Yeah, and what Conte's done to Ben Davies. Which player at Manchester United over a 10-year period has come in and has gone like that and thought, I'll tell you what, he's doing really well? I can't think of one.
They all get bogged down by the culture. It's like Bruno initially had that, but now he's not. He looks like a shell of that man, and he just looks frustrated and angry, and
Like, you look at Marcus Rashford, who, you know, 2 seasons prior to this, 20 goals plus, carrying shoulder injuries, back injuries. Now he looks like he never wants to kick a ball again. And I think that comes down to Manchester, like, the culture at the club is so wrong, whether it's rewarding players with contracts or not looking after your young stars. Like, we should have been looking after Marcus Rashford, and we'll do the same to Jadon Sancho if we're not careful. And
where was the club's advice on that? Marcus playing through a broken back and all these injuries. Why is someone at the club not pulling him out?
I mean, listen, we talk about off the field a lot at Man United, and listen, you know more about United than I do, and I've got me sort of Liverpool head on, and you've still got to remember though, the manager is still the most important person for me, and all the things you're talking about off the pitch, that was exactly what was getting said about Liverpool before Klopp came in. Transfer committee, Brendan Rodgers' argument, who's buying the players, all this type of stuff going on. A top manager can't fix everything, but a big manager and a top manager, I think, does a lot right. And getting back to the pitch, I think of Pep Guardiola and Klopp right now. When Pep came into Man City, he just went, Joe Hart, no. And everyone's like, wow, this is England's keeper. He's been a great player for City, but it's like, no, you're not here. Klopp comes into Liverpool straight away, and they've all played under Brendan Rodgers in that summer. I think Benteke cost 35, 40 million, it was a few quid, big centre forward. No, you're not for me, out. And it was like making that big, bold decision straight away that it makes everybody sit up and take note and think, oh, this fella takes
Do you not think every manager wants to make that decision? Is it not about the authority?
But I think the fella's got to do it, and I'm telling you now, I'm convinced he's got to do it with Ronaldo. I'm convinced, whether he's allowed to or not, and I've said this consistently through this season, that was not a good signing. Cristiano Ronaldo, as he said before, is one of the greatest players of all time, and I'm seen as a guy who's like criticising Ronaldo. Ronaldo's a million times better player than I'd ever be. I couldn't lace his boots, obviously. But I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to him. He's amazing. Ronaldo's never played in a team this bad, so he's always played for great teams. And his attitude of trying to be, the main man, getting the goals, driving people on. When you're in a great team, that's sometimes seen as a positive. When you're not playing for a great team, it can be seen as a negative, and I think it has been a negative this season. Man United can't go into next season where a centre forward will be 38. Even if he does score goals, that's not right for Man United.
AC Milan just won the league with Zlatan in his 40s.
Pardon?
AC Milan have just won the league with Zlatan in his 40s.
But that's not Man United. You're competing with Liverpool and Manchester City, the two best teams in Europe. No, but the problem I say with Ronaldo is Ronaldo this season has done unbelievable. To do what he's doing at 37, scoring nearly 20 goals in the Premier League for Man United, still possibly being Man United's best outfield player, is unbelievable.
But the problem, not him,
for Man United.
In everyone else's response to him. And not the problem. Players in the dressing room thinking that they can have any kind of attitude towards one of the greatest of all time.
Attitude was not a problem for Manchester United last season. It wasn't. Man United were a team you could look at and you go, you know what? That's a good group. It's a decent group, that. And if they finish third,
do you think Ronaldo's really that much of a catalyst
on the
for
players
negative?
then? And I think the demands came when Ronaldo and Varane arrived. So now you have to win the league. And once those demands were on this current dressing room,
there's always
the majority
of
them
United.
crumbled.
There's always demands on Man United. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world.
I don't think there is. I genuinely don't think there are those kind of demands coming from the top down.
I think
it's relying on a manager, like you said.
He comes in and he makes that big decision because United need to buy a striker. Because there's only Ronaldo there. Who do you buy? Do you buy someone to play or someone who's happy to be on the bench? What do you do? If you buy a really good one, you've got to play him, and then Ronaldo has to be on the bench. Ronaldo will be a massive problem for Man United next season if he wasn't playing every week. We've seen it this season, even when he's coming off. Even there's times when the manager was right to bring him off or put him on the bench, he still kicked up a fuss.
I kind of see that problem. I kind of mentioned it earlier that if Ten Hag goes, I don't want to keep Ronaldo. He's going to be forced to keep him, and that comes down to the coach from the club.
He shouldn't be forced to keep him. He should be strong enough going in now. This is the most powerful he will ever be. The manager's the most powerful his first day in the job. Because he's there, he should be able to make decisions on the basis of that. And I'd make that big decision, as the other top manager's done. It'll make everyone sit up and take notice.
I think he's staying, because I think, to be honest with you, there was some... I think when Ten Hag was announced, within 2 or 3 days, Cristiano, I think, put something out on his social media feed, and Cristiano would not have put something out, in my mind, with the operation he has around him, unless there was comfort that the manager would wanted him for next season, he was going to stay. So I think Cristiano's staying. I think the problem at the start of the season was that it created a problem straight away with Cavani. Cavani had been told, and I think pleaded with, to stay and lead the attack for another year, probably not playing every game, because obviously Rashford was there, Greenwood was there at the time. But then when they signed Ronaldo, it completely put the nose out of Cavani. Was just shot then. He's finished.
He's not on his own in that.
No, he's not. They've all done it in the last day. It upset the dynamic in the dressing room for Bruno, I think, because Bruno looks up to him as almost like a godfather figure with Portugal, so it made him feel a little bit inferior to what he was before. It made Maguire feel a little bit inferior as captain, just naturally. Nothing through Ronaldo doing this. His presence itself on the pitch means that everyone's looking to Cristiano, and then Harry obviously trying to establish himself as United captain. So I think the dynamic and the way I know the way Cristiano looks at you when he doesn't get what he wants, or the pass he wants, or the run he wants. I know he was doing that 15 years ago when he was a kid. So he's going to do it now with that aura he has about him. And that, Cantona had a little bit of that about him. Cantona wouldn't shout at you, just that little look. Now, we could handle it because we had, to be fair, other great, people in the dressing room like Steve Bruce and Pallister and Roy Keane and Paul. It's all those players around him. So there wasn't a case of it caused a problem. But in a failing dressing room, in a poor team, those looks can be devastating.
Ten Hag came out in his press conference, and when he was asked about Ronaldo staying, he smiled. He said, "What did you bring?" He goes, "Goals." So it does look like you said he's come out
and definitely staying.
I don't think he's got a
guaranteed.
choice. I genuinely believe it's down to partly down to us losing Champions League money as well. I genuinely, I believe they need him for that, the commercial deals as well, and that shows you what's wrong with Manchester United.
In that instance, you're not then worried about Ten Hag. If he thinks he's got no choice to do it, wouldn't, as Dave was saying earlier, wouldn't Pep and Klopp do that? So are you saying you feel? I don't
That's
know,
exactly the point.
But that's the point. Then, are you worried? It doesn't say he hasn't got the personality to do that. Then if he hasn't got a choice,
I don't think. Possibly, maybe you shouldn't take the job if you're going to be put in that situation. But maybe those kind of things crop up further down the line. I think if you look at, I think it was Klopp at Liverpool. He didn't originally want Salah, and you've got the recruitment people in place who go, "Trust me, you want Mohamed Salah because he's a great signing."
Jurgen Klopp says he knows there's parameters he operates under, so it's not quite as dramatic as you have to keep this football.
No,
every manager's
I
got.
do disagree. Look, I can't rule out the cynical approach that you've got that he's been kept for financial and commercial reasons. I can't, because I wouldn't know. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very, very surprised if he's been kept for those reasons. I do think it's a function of that if he leaves, we have not got a centre forward. We've not got a centre forward at the club. So then we have to sign 3. We can't sign 3. They haven't got the money. So I think it's more of a case of if they lose Ronaldo's 20 goals, 18 goals, which he'll get, he always gets that, then at least we sign one more centre forward. We're half okay. We've got Sancho. We've got Rashford.
Can we talk about Rashford though? You've worked with him as a
do
coach.
all right with I think he'll do all right with Rashford. I think Ten Hag will look at Rashford and think he's a project I can work with. I think Ten Hag will look at him and think he's quick, he runs. If I can give him some coaching, I think I can work with him.
What's gone wrong with him? Is it that lack of coaching, that lack of love?
With Rashford, for me, it's a combination of the disease that's been in United dressing room this season, the confidence of every single player, the performances, the media scrutiny, including ourselves on television. I think there's no doubt that the mass campaigns that he's had off the pitch, which have, to be fair, achieved more than he's achieved on the football pitch, must take its toll. They must take their toll on your, sort of, if you like, your people contacting you all the time, the demands on him from a non-football perspective. You know, he's there, he's paid to be a Manchester United football player, and he's got almost like a second job, which is, to be fair, a job that, to be fair, is giving him far greater reward at the moment in terms of what he's achieving. He's achieving unbelievable things. But
First 6 weeks of the season,
that is a massive pressure as well, that, on a kid. That to live up to that expectation on the pitch and off the pitch of being that man, Marcus Rashford. You know, you're kneeling down in front of the Queen 1 minute, and the next minute you're asking to go and play football. That must take a toll on a player. So
he's just not quite good enough for Man United, Marcus Rashford. That's all.
That's more simple than my analysis.
That's it. He's just not quite good enough for United. He's top of the Arsenal.
He's proven that, though. He's proven that.
I'm sorry. Don't get him started. He's too good. What I do know is going to be a very, very interesting summer.
He's not going to win you the league or the Champions League.
I can't let him get away with that. Sorry.
He's not going to win you the league or the Champions League.
No, I'm sorry. That's like saying
he could be part of it.
No,
I think he could be part of it.
It's really
well, the
important.
other two up front with them have to be mega stars, and he's the addition.
It's really important to say that. No, that's like saying Divock Origi's not good enough for Liverpool. It's like saying Shaqiri's not good enough for Liverpool. It's like saying...
I'm talking about the first 11.
No.
I'm talking about a squad player.
But my point is, yeah, but you have a squad of 20.
OK, well, fine to be a squad player. He's not good enough to be in the first 11 to win Manchester United the big trophies. He's just a little bit level below that.
If Jurgen Klopp had him when he had Mane, I think you're seeing the same.